So back this summer in like July, I took a little time to drive up to our local community college. It sits up on a hill that overlooks the town, and it's beautiful at night. You can go up there and you can see the stars and you can see the lights of the city below. And, there's this beautiful sculpture garden, and that's where all those lights are. It's part of the sculpture garden. There's the trees, and there's even, though I'll show you in a minute, there's a silhouette. And I know this video isn't all that thrilling. It's going to get even worse in a minute. But I had wanted to share Ridgecrest with you guys, and so I did this, not really thinking about when I would use it. I just made sure I did it, and then in August, September, and early October we had the wildfires in California, and here in the desert we don't get the actual flames. There's nothing for them to burn. People are like, yeah, but it can just sweep through all that brush. Well, it's really easy to stop if there's not something to sustain the fire. It just burns out. So we don't have to worry about, it sweeping through and destroying our area. They wouldn't let it get here. They would be able to stop that really easily. But with all the forests that are in California, you've got all those trees that can hold that fire for a long time, and it can smolder and burn, and it can take a long time. So while we don't have to worry about the flames, we are at the bottom of a valley. I know, ridge crest. There's no crest here. It's crest. But we're at the bottom of a valley, and so the smoke comes over our mountains. We're at the foothills of the Sierras on the east side. I guess southeast side maybe, but we are at the foothills of the Sierra, so the smoke comes over the mountains, and it settles in the valley, and it stays, and it's heavy and oppressive. And for people like me with asthma, it's bad because we have a swamp cooler, which means that the only way to cool our house is to bring in outside air and run it over wet pads and a giant fan, and then it cools the air. And it's great in the desert because we don't have any moisture. Our normal humidity is around 4%. So it puts a little moisture in the air, and it's awesome. But not when there's smoke in the air, because we're just pulling the smoke in that way. And yeah, it's really hard on the lungs. So I went up there. Can you see the difference? It was clear. You could see the lights of the city, and now it's just totally a mess. It's diffused. If you're in an area that gets fog, it's a very similar feeling to a heavy fog when you go out at night with all the smoke. I was driving through the city, and even getting up to the college, I'm right near here. I'm heading up, or I'm up there, and it's kind of hard to tell. But as I was driving through the city to get up there, it felt like I was in this dense fog, and yet I'm not. And I wanted to get out and look around, but I actually couldn't do it with the asthma. That would have been very foolish. But that's actually why I got in the car to do it this night. I was like, well, I can take video. It won't be good, but I can take video and show what it looks like. And I can get in the air-conditioned car where the air gets filtered. And so I was out there doing it. But I had this moment as I was driving around, and I was thinking about, smoke comes from burning, and all the, and it's a mess. It's just this giant mess. But what gets rid of the smoke in our area anyway is when the winds come. They come over the mountains and they just blow it away. And unfortunately, they probably blow it toward people east of us. Sorry. But then we get a break and we can breathe, and it's our, because that's one of the beautiful things about the desert. We have this wind and it's awful, but we have really clean air, and it's really usually wonderful. But not with the fires. So but it reminded me of all the smoke of the gunk in our lives, and the Lord, with that he's a still small voice, and he's a very sweet fragrance. And there's so many references to what the Lord is, but I always think of that mighty rushing wind at Pentecost, and the Holy Spirit just blows through, and I'm like, yeah, it just blows the smoke out of our lives. And And then I start thinking about hope floats and blow the stink off you. And yeah, everything just kind of fails there. But it's just that kind of feeling. So before I get to really deep working at night, I like to, get myself a cup of tea or ice water, or some lemonade, depending on the time of year. But I took tea even in summer at night with the swamp cooler going. It gets cool enough in here that I can enjoy it. And so I'll make a cup of tea and sometimes some toast or a sandwich, or I make soup sometimes. It just depends. And it's funny. I have learned. So I found these YouTubers, I guess, and they're these young women that are in their 20s mostly, and they've learned to just like delight in life. And the way they do it doesn't appeal to me. I'm not going to skip through meadows in a sundress and, spin in the circle with my hands raised to the sky. It's just not me. It's them. You can tell it's who they are. And I love that about them. But I'm 51 years old. If I skip, I'll probably break an ankle. So, I'm just like, yeah, no. But what they do that I think is so important and so beautiful, and what I've learned to do because of them, is they take the time to enjoy the little moments. And there's so many beautiful YouTubers out there who do it. And there's one in particular I'm going to link in the show notes because she's so spiritually encouraging. Some of these gals, I'm not sure what their theological, if they have one, bent are, so I don't want to recommend them. But this one gal, she's so sweet, and she does beautiful videos. Actually, there's two. This other gal, I'm pretty sure she's not a Christian, but she's never shared things that made me cringe either. So I haven't seen everything she has. So there's a caveat on something fairy cottage something. There's a caveat on her. I don't know all of her videos, but I haven't seen anything that just freaked me out yet. But some of the others, every once in a while, then they'll get into spirituality and crystals, and then I'm like, But they do this thing where they embrace every moment, and I can just sit and watch the videos and just relax while I'm doing something else, and so, but they've taught me, when I reach up to grab my tea box, I can enjoy getting my tea box. I can pay attention to the little tea bag that I put in my cup. And when I do that, it takes the rote out of it, and it brings in some real true appreciation and gratitude for the little things like my cup with the bird on it. I know it's silly, but I love that cup. And it's kind of strange. We do this when we buy our things. We buy something like a mug, and I look at this cup and I look at this mug and I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. I love it. So I bring it home, and then I never really look at it again. And that's one of the things I've learned from these girls is, I have this gift of a mug. The Lord gave me this mug. If you break it down to its lowest common denominator, he gave me a husband who worked hard to earn the money so that I could go to the store and buy the mug. So, the Lord gave me this mug, and I am grateful, and I love it. And when I look at it, it makes me smile. Those little moments of appreciation, even like my burned toast. So, yeah, the toast. I popped it back down because it wasn't harsh enough, it wasn't strong enough. It was really pale, and I like it. I like a golden toast, not too dark, not too light. And it was just there, as you can tell, it had toasted it all. So I popped it back down, and then I forgot about it. So then I had black toast, and I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, and I'm gonna be totally transparent here. I almost did that whole scene over with the toast, so that I didn't have to share that I'd muffed it. And I thought, how ridiculous are you, Shatona? It doesn't matter. You're grateful for that sourdough toast. You like sourdough toast. And I put extra honey on it just to get that down, because the last thing I needed was more smoke and soot in my poor little lungs. But I did it, and I appreciated every bite of that toast. And another thing that these girls have taught me, and it's so silly. I mean, I love candles. I love candles. And I had gotten out of the habit of using them. They're wasteful, they're whatever. And it's kind of strange because you would think they would produce smoke and that would be bad for my lungs. But there's something about some candles, they almost like clean the air for me. I don't understand why. I don't really get it. But sitting near them, it kind of helps. And maybe it's just because it draws oxygen toward them. So that gets, I don't know. But the ambiance they provide just makes me feel cozy, makes me want to sit down and write. This night I was editing the Nutcracker suite, and I had finally figured out what I was going to do with Milo, and so I was all about getting Milo squared away because I really wanted him to be a certain way, and I hadn't hit on it, and then boom, I got it. So in that night's editing, that's what I was doing. I was fixing Milo and getting him to be the character I really wanted him to be, and I loved how he turned out. Another thing I do, I don't just write, and I don't just, I don't work 24/7, contrary to some people's beliefs. I sleep. I get a lot of sleep. I need a lot of sleep, so I get a lot. But I also, I do my Bible study. I don't do it in the morning. Well, that's kind of changed, but that's for another video. But the actual study of the Bible, we use these journables, and we take our chapter of the Bible and we write on the right hand side of the page, and we take notes and answer questions on the left hand. I'm best at that at night. That's when I'm the most alert. That's when I can really dig deep and try to understand. I'm not quite sure why I spent so much time adjusting the camera. I guess I'm kind of glad I did, because like the whole footage of me writing the actual verses, it disappeared. I don't know where it went. It's gone. Poof. I was going to speed it up really fast and make me look like Speedy Gonzalez as I'm just zipping through those verses. I was like, you'd be totally impressed. Hey, just let me live, right? Let me dream. But yeah, I don't just write and edit and write and edit. I also spend time in the Word, and I try to make it appealing. That tea that I'm drinking there at the table, that is David's tea. It is not hot chocolate that is actual hot chocolate. It is hot chocolate tea, and so it's lighter, but it has all the flavor. And I don't know, I'm not a big, huge fan of hot chocolate. It's too much for me, but that tea is a perfect compromise for me. I love it. I don't drink it super often. I tend to stick with the Lion's from Lion's Gold. I think it's from Ireland, and I think is it a Ceylon or an Assam? It's one of the two. But Jennifer Dybel from A Dance in Donegal recommended it, and I absolutely love it. So I hope this has been just a little interesting to see what, I talk about the smoke and the fires, and I talk about, editing, and I talk about these things. I just wanted to take a minute, show you a little glimpse of what I do, share with you what I've learned from some of these gals. And like I said, I'm going to leave those 2 links below, and, you can check them out. Just get a feel for Other Quiet Lives. Both of them remind me very much of my Willow from Past Forward. And so I just thought you would enjoy it, and I really hope you have a blessed week. And I've got my fall videos that I haven't even shared yet, so those are coming. And yeah, sorry that it's late, but I can only do what I can do. Have a lovely day.